Hello and welcome to Scratching the Gaming Itch. Today I just wanted to talk about the fact that nobody actually wants Titanfall 3. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flame for that because people constantly say this one thing about Titanfall 2. They say not that it's just not like that it's not underrated, that's not pretty good. They say it's one of the best FPS games of all time. But if it is, why aren't you all playing it? If the servers are still up, nothing is stopping you from playing that game in 2016. So I wanted to talk about that just a little bit. And I think, honestly, people don't actually want Titanfall 3. And so what you're even seeing here on Splitgate is a game that has been made pretty well. It's not exactly wall running and Titans, but it's fast, and it's skill based, and it rewards mastery. And so does Titanfall. People say that Titanfall 2 was ahead of its time, that it was one of the best movement shooters ever, that it deserved better. But loving Titanfall 2 has just become this opinion. No one is really playing it anymore. So do people actually want to get better at games and do well on Titanfall 2? The answer is, honestly, no. Titanfall 2 has kind of one of those brutal skill gaps of a game. The veterans of it probably haven't left to this day. Right, so the community still has the movement gods, and then new players feel that immediately. And that's just what happens when a game is about skill. And modern matchmaking systems are designed to hide skill gaps. But Titanfall 2 doesn't really have that. So Titanfall 3, maybe someone just wants the idea of Titanfall, but they don't want to actually learn the movement and learn how to deal with things. They want a matchmaking system that will hide them from the crazy movement gods. And we've seen that in Splitgate, right? When people are dealing with someone who has a really good ability with portals, they just tell them to go touch grass, or I'm uninstalling this game because it's too challenging, that these players are too much of sweats. Right, so no one wants to hear this, but we didn't lose Titanfall because it was abandoned. We lost Titanfall because the audience for games like it has shrunk. If Titanfall 3 launched tomorrow with no battle pass, no seasonal grind, people would make videos about it, people would praise it, and people would talk about how great it feels to play old shooters again, and then they'll stop playing it. Titanfall 2 right now sits at 1,593 players, which I understand a game released in 2016 is not that bad. But the reality is, it's not gonna go up unless some kind of streamer plays it for a little bit, and then it'll go up for a little bit. But once that streamer goes, those players will go too. That's just the way it is. And that skill gap really is something that we have to ask ourselves as players. Do we want to change, or what do we want out of shooters? We see games like Arc Raiders and Battlefield coming with all kinds of success. But the kind of why behind it that I'm seeing is in Arc Raiders, you can create your own advantages in fights, and you can win based off of that rather than skill. In a Battlefield, there are ways to play that you don't have to be the better gamer. You just have to be the good medic or someone who's repairing the tank. There are ways to play the game that feel fun, that don't involve directly having to deal with your skill versus the other player's skill. And in games like Splitgate, in games like Titanfall, in games like Halo, and many others, that's just not the case. And the players are not for that anymore. And that's why I think Titanfall 3 is not only just this mystical game that people wish existed, that people blame High Guard for not existing, but that no one would play it even if it did exist. Yeah, maybe they'll play it for a little bit when it releases and say all those great things about it, but then they're gonna go away. And the developers will probably think, what the heck happened? But we should know that skill gap is what happened. That players don't necessarily want to deal with that. The audience that does is getting smaller and smaller, and ultimately they are quitting those kinds of games. So what do you think? Do you think Titanfall 3, if it were to release, would actually be a big success? Or do you think Titanfall 3 should never exist and that it wouldn't be a success if it did? Or what are you looking for in Titanfall 3? What are you hoping to get out of it that you think will make it a big success, that other players will play it? And if you are one of those who believes Titanfall 2 to be the greatest shooter of all time, are you playing it right now? And if you're not, why aren't you playing it if it's the best, right? The servers haven't gone down, guys. Sometimes I think we act like Titanfall 2 is this dead game that was magical, that got taken away from us, but it's still there, and we still could play it. But that's just what I'm thinking about and what I wanted your opinion on. I'll see you next time. Bye.